Yo, what's going on, man? Thank you all for coming back for another episode of Southern Hospitality, where me and my sister speak on the Black millennial experience in America. I'm your co-host, Landon Moss.
And I'm Lauren Moss.
And today we gonna talk about what?
The stereotype of the strong Black woman. So we mentioned it last episode, but we just didn't have enough time to cover it the way we really wanted to cover it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we're going to get into it today.
Get right into that thing. We're gonna slide right into it, so we got enough time.
Yes.
Lauren, what is one thing that you recently learned or unlearned since we last talked?
Okay, so one thing that I've learned, so like you guys know, I got my blog to myself from myself, and it's a project that I've really been working on for probably like the past 3-4 years, and I just recently launched. And one thing that I unlearned was that one thing that I learned is that most people know what they want to do, or they know their truth. But a lot of people are trying to convince themselves that it's not possible to achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve. So, for example, I follow a couple of pages, and sometimes I'll go through the comments and like respond to people. And this one girl had posted and was like, I need a little advice, just randomly. I need a little advice, and I have this option and this other option, but I don't really know which one I want to do. I don't really like what I'm doing now, but I don't know what to do. And I wrote back because I've been in that position before. And I said, you know what? I think you do know what you want. I think what you're trying to do is convince yourself that it's not possible to have what you want. And I think a lot of people do that. And I would say it's really the result of of society conditioning us to believe that, like Landon was saying in the last episode, you got to follow a certain blueprint to be happy or to have a successful career or a successful relationship. But yeah, that's the biggest thing that I learned or unlearned, was that you can do the things that you want to do. And most of the time when you feel stuck or you don't really know which direction you want to move, it's because you've spent a lot of time following or chasing someone else's dream. And if you stop and get quiet, the real truth, what you truly want to do, I think that comes up. We suppress it, but I think once you get quiet, it comes up. And that's what happened for me. Is I tried to suppress it for a long time, but I always knew what I wanted to do, but I never really felt comfortable telling people because I didn't think they would be accepting of it.
Yeah. Do you feel like COVID has the whole pandemic, the lockdown, all that stuff? Do you feel like that is forced people to, I guess, expedite the process of sitting down with themselves?
Definitely. I think the biggest thing is the distractions that were normally there, like being able to go out with your friends to the bar, or going to work and being around people. Now, because we're quarantined, you really only have yourself. I mean, we have social media, we have distractions, but COVID has significantly cut down on those. So now more people have more time to explore themselves, and hopefully they're taking the opportunity to do so. What about you? What's one thing you unlearned or learned?
One thing I recently learned, I guess unlearned, is the stigma that we have around Black-owned businesses. Because I was talking to some friends, we were talking about going to. I was just this on myself. We're like, let's go get some food. We can get some food. We're gonna support a Black-owned restaurant, and so we're like looking places up, we're looking up the prices and stuff. I'm pretty cheap, so I always go for the single dollar signs. But I think it was just crazy. We were talking about like the prices, and they were like, "Oh, I hope this ain't expensive." Like, what I mean? Like, oh, that's a little pricey. And I'm like, if you look at the prices, these are similar to the ones that we've eaten at before. But we're conditioned to believe, like, because it's a Black-owned business, it's like, oh, this is doing a lot, or like doing the most. But you would go to damn Benihana's in a heartbeat. You'll eat at
Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah, you don't got no problem with that. But why do we have a problem with a Black-owned restaurant? It's like, oh man, this is so much money. Oh my God, I don't want to spend it. But like, why wouldn't you want to reinvest in us?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think we got to destigmatize that whole thing, because that is a thing. And normalize spending Black dollars at Black businesses.
Yeah. There's another thing too, where people we'll be like, well, I don't really want to spend that much money here. And it's like, but we should change that. Or they'll say like, oh, those prices, they're just way too much for like a t-shirt. And it's
Mm,
like, I mean, but if this is going towards a black business, I mean, that in itself is a benefit. But also we have to keep in mind that the reason why larger corporations are able to charge lower prices is because somebody at the back end is getting less than. You get what I'm saying?
mm,
Like
mm-hmm.
Amazon can do the things that it does because somebody's taking a cut. Those workers are working insane hours and not making enough money to survive.
Right.
So that's one of the things with that we have to recognize is that yeah, their prices have to be a little higher because it has to account for the fact that they don't have 50 workers working minimum wage. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like this is one, two, three, four, five people trying to run a business.
Yeah.
They don't have the same resources, the same capital as these larger corporations that they have money and they can cut those prices at any time because they also have they can get backed by the government as well. They can get those
Can,
bailouts. So it's like
yo,
the risks are a little different.
the thing that bothers me, and sorry to cut you off if you
You're
want to
good.
finish,
Oh no, you're good.
but the thing that bothers me, like I don't know too much about like finances, business, and stuff like that. But I do know some of the stuff that I've been looking up is like the amount of black owned businesses that are going to be able to recover post pandemic, and 40% of them aren't I mean they're predicting 40% black owned businesses won't be able to recover post pandemic.
Yeah.
Um, and then I started looking. I was talking to this one woman because there's one place I eat all the time called Sweet Blessings by Sin. Damn, I gotta look the place up. But it's called Sweet Blessings. It's in Van Nuys. Amazing soul food. I was eating this shit daily, daily. I mean, they was like, "Hey, Landon." I'm like, "Hey, yeah, dog." You know what I'm saying? Pick my food up. But one, okay, can I just say this? Like, there's a different type of environment when you go to black owned restaurants, and like it
Black
felt
owned
like a
anything. It's
yes,
family.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. It was like a family vibe. It was dope. It was dope. But just I was asking her some questions and stuff about everything going on with how they were handling everything with COVID, and she's like, it's extremely hard as a really small business for us to survive. And then it's like we're not getting help from the government. And I was started looking into it a little bit. I don't want to say too much because I didn't look extensively to know enough, but I believe a lot of black owned businesses aren't getting or aren't being approved for these same loans as other companies.
I was seeing some of that too. Again, got to fact check, but yeah, I did read on a couple of articles that were saying a lot of black businesses weren't getting approved for these loans.
That's man.
And one thing and this is another reason why I started my marketing company is I think so. There's certain things that you have to have when you incorporate, especially if you're like a LLC. It's a little different depending on your structure, but like LLCs, you definitely have to have like a member. You got to have your EIN number.
Mm,
There has to be a separation between your personal account and your business bank account, and little things like that can keep you from getting a loan. If you're a black business owner and you don't have like, and that's the difference between other races like white people and like black people is simply having somebody that I can go to that has owned their own business, that knows people that have owned their own business. That is huge. A lot of black
yeah,
people don't have that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really know that I need that or what it's for. Do you get what I'm saying? So I think what's
yeah,
happening with black businesses, they're making a profit, they're getting by, but there's little things that the government requires that they might not be aware of, and as a result they're not getting approved for these loans that they desperately need.
yeah. I mean, it just
So
comes with education. Like we got to
yeah.
do. I mean, I can't speak on. I don't know shit about. I just paid my tax for the first time this year.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean. Like this was the first year I paid taxes and like did. Oh my goodness, I got a lot of money I got to pay. But just like I didn't know about it. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
didn't know about it, and I
Yeah.
think the same thing kind of applies for like black owned businesses. Is like you were saying,
Yeah.
like we don't have the education that we necessarily need, and people are like, well, stop being lazy. Well, we don't got people in positions to, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. And it's like, who do you talk to? Who do you reach out to? Where do you go?
right,
Because they're not teaching this in school unless you go to college, which a lot of colleges, I mean, they're starting to develop. Like I know Georgia State has like an entrepreneurship program, but it's still relatively small in comparison to the other programs. So it's like, where do you go? Thankfully with the internet, but with the internet comes so much information, you don't know what's legitimate and what's not, you know? So yeah, that's definitely, I think that's a big contributor as well.
Yeah. Now you want to go ahead and jump right into it? Get
Yeah.
right into this thing. Get into
Let's
this
do
topic,
it. Let's
man.
do
Let's
it.
get this
Let's do
thing.
it. Let's do it. Are we
So
doing good? We got 12 minutes.
okay, we have a good little faster than last time. So
Eh.
the strong black woman trope.
Yes.
I'm gonna let you take the first stab at it because obviously you know it. What is it for the people that don't know?
Ooh, okay. So it's basically a stereotype and a stigma that black women take on. It's this idea that black women are, and I might be saying this word wrong, impenetrable as far as like things affecting them. That we can take all of this stuff and we can war through it, and things don't affect us the same, and we don't feel pain, we don't struggle. It's just basically like we're robots, honestly. um we're that shoulder to lean on, that shoulder to cry on. We're the protectors and the fighters. I mean, we're on the front lines at the protests, we're taking care of people, like we're doing everything, and it's not affecting us at all. But yeah, that's the gist of it. Is just this idea that we're just so strong and we can weather anything and nothing affects us, and we're gonna make it to the top regardless. It's it's a coping mechanism.
Where do you
Yeah.
think that comes from?
Um, I think it's, and I wrote this down too. It's a choice that we have to make in order to survive, right? Because I never like saying it was our only choice. You always have a choice, but the consequences, they can be very, very different. We could choose not to be strong, but the consequences are probably going to be dire, right? We could choose to give up. We could choose to, when, wherever we experience racism, to just throw up our hands and that be the end of it. But we choose to go, to put on this armor and to do more, to be more, to get whatever it is we're trying to get. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but as a result, it ends up kind of backfiring. In that, this is something that we'll cover, a little later on. The whole concept of John Henryanism. But yeah, that's basically what it is. It's like it's an armor that we put on.
Yeah.
To just kind of deal.
I think society has forced black women to have to wear the armor. You know what I mean? And this is something. There's this podcast called "Woman of Color at Work," and it's Ty King, I think her name is.
Sean King's wife.
No.
Oh,
Ty King. You know what I mean? No, I mean it is, but I don't want to say Sean King's wife.
Oh,
You know what
yeah,
I mean?
you want to
Because it's like
identify her as who she
her
is.
as who she is. Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay,
Let
I
me
see
double
it.
check her name real quick. Ray King, or is it Rai? R-A-I? I think
It
it's
sounds
Ray
like,
King.
yeah, I don't know.
But basically, so Woman of Color at
That's a
Work
pretty
is
name.
oh yeah, it's dope. It's dope. She's amazing too. But it's Woman of Color at Work is a podcast hosted by Ray King and Dr. Blanca Ruiz, and dude, they are amazing. They just talk about like the experiences that they've individually had as women of color at work, and I mean that's just a small sample size to like what damn near every black woman or woman of color faces at work, and
Yeah.
it just blows my mind how people don't expect black women to feel the full spectrum of emotions. You know what I mean? Like you're not allowed to.
Yeah.
And I think that stems back from when they were doing it was, and I briefly read this so I'm not too informed on it. But they were doing some type of like tests and stuff on black women, and they were saying black women didn't feel pain. They
Yeah.
were in they were, did you do you know anything about that?
Yeah, the guy, I don't know his name, but I just know he's the father of modern gynecology. And
Mm,
most of what he learned was through experimenting on black women. And he didn't use anesthesia for them because he basically believed that they don't feel pain the same way. And that, I mean, that even trickles down to now. People think like, that was no. Black women are still more likely to die. Like I think it's like 2 to 3 more times likely to die during childbirth at a hospital
yeah.
than a white person, than a white woman.
Look
And
at
that's
Serena Williams.
yeah, because they don't listen. Because you know medical professionals, and I'm not gonna say all of them, but a lot of them, they have this belief that black women don't feel pain, like black women can endure more, that
Right.
strong black woman stereotype.
I think it's an unconscious bias that every, not even just like in the medical field, everybody has about black women. Like we feel like black women are stronger and they don't feel the same, they don't feel the same pain other people feel like, and that's fucked up because that hinders black women like that. That's dangerous.
Yeah, it's so dangerous. One
It's
thing, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
no. I was going to just say reiterate. Same. Yeah. Go ahead.
One thing that I was thinking about, because a lot of people are like, well, my mom was strong, and I never saw my mom do this, or my sister was strong, I never saw. And my thing about that is, if you've only ever seen the black women in your life be strong, you've never actually seen the black women in your life.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Because that means they've put on that shield to where they're not even showing the people closest to them. Every black woman, they have these same feelings, that feeling of unworthiness, that the sadness, the depression, the anxiety, they have all of that, but it's behind a mask, right? So that's one thing, that I invite people to consider is like, yeah, if the people in your life have only been strong, that's because they feel that's the only choice that they have. They don't feel safe enough to be soft. Black women want to be soft. We don't want to have to be hard and harsh, and we want to be soft, but not having that space where we know it's safe, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, to be soft, to be vulnerable, we're never going to let the guard down. It's
Yeah.
too dangerous.
Amanda Seals literally just posted something about that.
Is she really?
Yeah, she was
She's a
like,
freaking genius.
yeah, she really is. She really is. And when you said on guard, I this is another thing. The woman of color at work, they had mentioned on their Instagram. They were saying, I think it's like 58% of black women at work feel like they have to be on guard at work.
All the time.
What does that mean to you?
It's like you can't ever relax. It's like it's like walking into a room with people that you don't really know, that you're not very comfortable around, so you're a little on edge. It's that feeling, but it's around people that
Mm,
right? Because at any moment they could say some ignorant stuff, and now it's an internal battle of, do I tell them about themselves or do I keep the peace and not try to appear like that angry black woman, because that's another stereotype that plays into the whole strong black woman idea. So yeah, it's really just, for me, it has always been like an internal battle, because again, I don't like conflict. So when I would hear stuff, it's like now I'm fighting with myself hours, days later, like I should have checked that person when they questioned my intellect, but I
yeah,
didn't. You know what I'm saying? And it's happened multiple times where my intellect, my abilities have been questioned, but it's like I've not given you a reason to question them ever. If anything, I've given you a reason to trust that I know what I'm doing.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing. I keep bringing up the woman of color at work
Continue.
podcast.
It's good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I wrote it down too. Another thing, they had, I think, Erica. Oh my God! What the second episode? They had this woman, Erica something. I cannot remember her last name. But she was saying that a lot of black women don't necessarily feel worthy because of constantly being questioned. They feel like they have to constantly prove themselves. And she was saying this is why a lot of black women get multiple degrees. It's like, I have to
Yes.
prove my worth.
Yes.
And so she went to Harvard, and she was like, she would like, sometimes she would start with that, and then it's like, oh, she's worthy. You know what I'm saying? And
Yes.
it's that's fucked up. You have to prove your worth in order for someone to
treat
I
you
get
like
to like a damn employee, like a coworker.
yes,
I have to
yes.
prove I'm worthy of being your coworker.
Yes,
What?
yes, yes, yes. Man, I can't speak enough about that. Whoo. I worked in one place and, they'd always ask, I was an intern at the time, so they'd always ask, like, where are you? Where'd you go to school or where'd you graduate from? And I'd say Savannah State, which is an HBCU in Savannah, Georgia. And the shift in energy,
You can feel it.
you could feel it. Like that, oh, that's just one of those, those schools, right? That you don't really know, whatever. But it was like the school determines like my value. Because if I can be extremely frank, that was one of the most difficult MBA programs I've been in. I went to two, right? Completely different. So it was one of the most difficult ones, and it had less than half of the resources that the school that I went to in undergrad, Georgia State, less than half. So that means I had, and it was AACSB accredited, which is the same accreditation that Duke has, that all these Division I, these major schools have. So same standards, less resources. So I'm learning the same content, but I have less resources, less help to do it. If anything, I am more than prepared. I am more than qualified because I didn't get my hand held. I had to figure it out on my own.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I will say that for a while I was ashamed being in that environment and having people react like that. After a while, you start to feel like is it less than? It's not. It's not. And it took some time for me to really come to that where it was like, there's nothing to be ashamed of. Shannon Sharp graduated from Savannah State University and is very proud of it. And it took some time to become proud of that, where it's like, this is nothing to be ashamed of. Like, look at, despite what we don't have, look at what we're able to do. Imagine what we could do if we had the resources. Of course you know what you're talking about. You graduated from Duke, you better.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
I don't know. Another thing too, I watch so much Insecure now. I just can't stop. It's so good. And I
feel
just
about
always,
The Office.
I always, oh yeah, dude. I love The Office. I was like, why you just text me that?
It's so stupid.
That's just so random. But we had briefly talked about code switching on the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had mentioned how Molly was at work and she had to code switch and stuff like that. I wanted to ask I'm not sure if we ever talked about this, but if you ever experienced or felt like you had to code switch in order to.
I code switch on cue. I code
Damn.
switch almost without realizing that I'm code switching. That's how ingrained it is. And let me see, it wasn't till I worked at that internship that it really started to bug me. At first it was something like, oh yeah, I can talk with the big guns, all that. But then after a while, after a year of that, it's like, I don't even feel like myself. Like, I feel like this happy, like, just, it didn't feel authentic. I'm laughing at stuff. I don't even know what the people are talking about. I'm just laughing. Right. But it's okay. Why do we code switch? Because I don't want people to look at me like I'm unworthy if I talk with a little slang. Yeah. And it's never like, oh, you're an ignorant, whatever. It's, they just kind of look at you a certain way, or they don't look at you at all, or they don't acknowledge you. I mean, I've been in conversations with people where there are certain people that would not even acknowledge that I was there.
Wow.
Yeah, like I remember when I worked at CarMax, there was this older white family that came in, and I shook everybody's hand except for the older gentleman. I held my hand out. He didn't look at me. He didn't acknowledge me. He turned to his family and said, "Come on, let's go look at some cars." Nothing.
Wow.
Yeah. And so with that, it's like, okay, I feel like I gotta show something, that I gotta do something to show them that, like, oh no, I'm intelligent. I'm worthy of your attention. That's why we code switch. I mean, in that instance, I didn't, because I was at CarMax, and at that point I had gotten more comfortable with being myself, because I realized that I sell better when I'm authentic. People are attracted to authenticity. And when you code switch, you're not being authentic. So yeah, he ended up giving me a hug at the after I sold his sister a car.
Yeah. You should have.
Yeah, I walked him to the door, because the way CarMax was set up, there was like the drive aisle, then you had to walk to the front, and he came with his sister. They were like in their 80s, like they were old, right?
Damn.
Yeah, she was older, and I had done a lot because I thought the lady was very genuine, so I'd done a lot for her. And she got her car. I walked him back to the entrance, and I stuck out my hand, and he slapped it away, and I was like, oh. Then he was like, I don't want that, and put his hands out like this, like ushering me to give him a hug. And I was like, okay, all right.
What if you'd have backed up?
Watch out. Okay, yeah, but that was one thing I learned for people that struggle with code switching, because the basis of it is we don't feel like we're worthy as we are.
Yeah.
And so we try to be somebody else. But in that situation, I had learned, like, I am my best when I'm authentic. I'm not going to change who I am because somebody perceives me as being unworthy, even though that's not the truth.
Yeah.
And after a while, he came around. Granted, even if he didn't, I wouldn't have cared. But it still was a really good lesson in that I don't have to be somebody else to get the respect that I deserve.
Yeah. Dude, I code switched yesterday.
Did you?
But with someone black.
Okay. Explain.
It was weird.
Explain.
And I felt myself, dude, this shit is weird. I can feel it instantly.
Yeah.
Like, it's the way I was pronouncing words completely changed. I was like, what the fuck? And I said it out. I literally said it out loud. Like, what the fuck was that? And then she was like, what? And I was like, oh, no. This girl came over, and I don't know why, dude. I used to be intimidated by black girls. I did. And I don't know why. It just.
How long? Like, how far back can you recall feeling that? Like, always?
Yeah. And I think that's why, like, in middle school, I was dating white girls, and you know what I mean? Like, I never really dated black girls like that. And even when I did, it was like lighter skinned black girls. You know what I mean? But it was like this always kind of like intimidated, and I still got to figure out why that was exactly. I know it's somewhere. I don't know what exactly it is, so I don't want to sit here and think about it live on the podcast. But I was with her, and we were like talking and stuff, and I forgot what I said, but I like made a joke, and I was like, "Yeah, that shit crazy." Like, what the fuck was that? Like, that shit crazy. Yeah, like, that's your job. Wow.
Who am I?
I'm like, what am I doing? This ain't no acting class. And I was like, what the fuck was that? And she was like, what? And I was like, oh, no. And I was like, I don't know why I just said it like that. And she was like, what you mean? I'm like, I don't know why I just said it. Like, I just sounded weird. And then it was dope though. We had a good ass time. We was just talking about stuff. And I was playing Hamilton and all types of shit. And I was telling her, like, dude, and this kind of falls into the same kind of thing with code switching. When I was doing Uber, I would pick people up, listen to Hamilton. They would come to the car. I'm like searching real fast for like a rap song. I'm like, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But I think we feel like we have to code switch. It's wild. We feel like we got to be a certain way to look how you're supposed to look.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I can't be the black Uber driver picking someone up, listen to a musical. I got to listen to some goddamn Lil Uzi.
Yeah.
You know
like some Future.
I don't know a single word to the song played. I'm off my head and shit. Like, thinking about Hamilton. There's nothing rich folks love more. Like, I don't know.
Then going downtown and summon it with the poor.
But, yeah, man, I just think code switching is a crazy thing. And even sometimes, like, when we go to meetings and stuff, I'm like, how you doing? Like, yeah, fake laugh. Like, nigga, that shit wasn't funny.
I don't even know what you said.
Like, I think we have to start creating a better environment, a better workplace environment where people feel comfortable being able to be themselves. And I think another thing that falls in with that is having people understand what code switching is.
Yeah.
I guarantee a white person doesn't know what code switching is. You know what I'm saying? Like a CEO or something. But if you have a woman of color, let me just tell you this one stat I just recently saw. Black CEOs make up 1% of all Fortune 500 companies. 0 of them are women of color.
Despite being overly qualified.
So you gonna tell me that those 99% understand what you know what I'm saying, what their employees are going through?
Or, I mean, let's take it a step further. They're customers, because a lot of these companies cater to black audiences.
Yeah.
Don't know anything about their experience.
And I think when you don't know, that's when you start having things like the people with wearing blackface and the little boy and the monkey, best monkey in the jungle type shit.
Kendall
They don't
Jenner offering a Pepsi to calm a riot. I'm
like
sorry, what? Or a protest? Like what?
when you don't have people that understand these type of things, it's like I don't see nothing wrong because to you nothing is wrong.
Right.
How can you see that? You've never learned that was wrong, that people don't like that. You know what I'm saying? How can you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, man. That shit is just wild. Whew.
You made a point earlier. I wanted to say something about it, but
Oh, the adultification of black girls.
yeah, you talk about that, about the post that you read about that. I think that's pretty interesting to share. And then we'll
Damn, which one? Which one are you talking about?
the so you want to talk about
Oh,
is
yeah,
that
yeah,
the
yeah,
profile?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yep. Um, dude, I learned so much stuff from them.
Yeah.
I want to go back and just double check because you know, what I mean, I don't want to like misquote anything. Adultification bias, which is a form of racial prejudice where children of minority groups such as black girls are treated as being much more mature than they actually are by a reasonable social standard of development. And just going through all the stuff, they did a bunch of different tests, a bunch of different studies that showed how people perceived black girls. And a lot of times, they thought these younger girls were a lot older than they were.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you start to look at people as older than they are, you get harsher consequences for the same things that their counterparts do. Like,
Yeah.
and that's it. It's not just for like suspension and stuff, which I think 40%. I think I gotta double check stats before I quote them, but I think about stuff like girls wearing shorts to school when it's hot. A white girl wears it and it's cool, but if a black girl wears it, it's like
That's
she's
inappropriate.
it's inappropriate for her to wear that. It's the
Yeah.
same. It could be the same pair of shorts, and I think it's because people have an unconscious bias towards black girls of being older than they are. So like you see them, and we even talked about someone we know with their hairstyle
Mm-hmm.
and how they couldn't wear. I think their friend or their parent or something like that said they couldn't wear a certain hairstyle because
It's too grown.
it's too grown. Like how is a hairstyle grown?
Yeah.
And then this made me think about like I guess because I always be like, who's right, who's wrong? But I don't think anybody's wrong in that. Like, because for the parent, it's like I see this and I think of what I was looked at when I was a child. This was grown, like, you know what I mean? So I wouldn't want my child to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Yep.
fucked up because social standards are putting parents, black mothers in weird positions where they got to have these like conversations that their daughter's older than they are when they shouldn't be.
Yeah. Yeah. They can't ever just be kids.
Right. They literally strip black girls of their childhood.
Yeah. Yeah. I read an article that was talking about, there was this little girl, because there's been a lot of like little black girls popping up on social media that are like in these protests that are, they're speaking, they're marching, and they're all of this. And it's like, oh, we love it. We love to see these little girls out here, this passion. But at the same time, they're kids, like they're children. Just think about, as a child, how much they have to understand and comprehend about what's going on and what that does to your innocence as a child.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they're out here protesting for they understand at that age, like 6, 7 years old, that their lives are in danger. There is no innocence. No, there's no childhood. Like what kind of childhood is that a child must be in the streets protesting for their lives? It's sad. It's sad again, and it's there's this passion, but it's like they're kids. I think we're forgetting that they're kids.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't know, man. That shit is. I just remember when I was doing the Young and Black Tip thing, and I had Marcello on, and
Woo.
you know what I mean. Just hearing all their kids just talk about everything going on and how they understood.
Yeah.
I'm like, y'all shouldn't understand this. Y'all shouldn't have to be out here fighting. Y'all should be out there playing. Y'all should
being
be
kids.
outside, being kids. I guess well now
Yeah.
kids be on iPads and shit. But you know what I mean? Like,
But being kids, like
yeah,
being, I remember our childhood, like we were climbing on trees and stuff, like
yeah.
being kids. They don't even get that.
That makes me think though, like, um, I- how do you feel about? I was talking to her about this 2 years. This girl I was with, she was telling me, um, that her parents were saying like they didn't experience stuff like this. She was like, I just started learning about in the last like 3 years. Just started learning about like systemic racism and like she's like, because I asked her, a cop drove by and I tensed up instantly, and then I was like, do you ever get tense when cops drive by? And she was like, not really. Like now I'm starting to with everything going on, but she's like, growing up I wasn't taught that. Like I wasn't taught the the issues and the oppression that black people face, and I always wondered, do you think that that's a bad thing?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying not to label things like good or bad,
Okay,
but
yeah,
I
yeah.
could, but I could see. I mean, the best answer would be yeah, it's a bad thing because it's not just on Black people to understand how we're affected by racism. That doesn't end racism. It has to be the other side of the spectrum. It has to be the people that aren't affected by racism. It has to be the people that perpetuate racism because all of those come together and it contribute to the experience that we have.
Hmm.
So yeah, you might not be affected, but somebody is affected by it. That
Yeah.
means you have an obligation. And even if it isn't somebody as a human being, you have an obligation to make sure that the world is safe for everyone, regardless of their skin color. I mean, that concept is
Ridiculous.
childish. Yeah, it's childish, honestly.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. But yeah, it's an obligation. It doesn't rest on just Black people's shoulders. It's everybody's obligation.
That's how I be feeling sometimes though.
Yeah. It
Man,
does
when
feel
you
like that.
look at school systems and the curriculum for history, like what are y'all really teaching us? You know what I mean? Like y'all teaching history, but what are you really teaching us? You know what I'm saying?
I got an answer for that.
Like they're teaching us that like, you know what's crazy? I just think about this when I think about the history books. We don't ever, like when we finish history books, it's like slavery's over, no more racism. Like
It just
you
woo.
just gone. And then like now we're all equal. You know what I'm saying? Everything happened, but now we all good. We're on the same page. And I think that's another reason why people feel like, what? Like, how can y'all face like what? Like we're all racism's over now.
They don't tell the
Like
truth. They don't
the
tell the whole
shit's
truth. They omit.
right. But like when you have stuff like Jim Crow laws and like the housing crisis and how people would get, man, these all this stuff didn't just go away. Like I think it's the wealth gap or whatever. Like that shit happens, and then it's not like, oh, we're back on the even playing field. Like that
It was
shit has
never.
long lasting generational effects on people.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm like, why is that so hard for people to understand? I don't get that. Like, what the
I
fuck do y'all
don't
think happened?
again, I don't think it's hard to understand. I think it is um people feel like, what's the best way I can put this? I think it's guilt.
Yeah.
I think it's guilt. I think by acknowledging it, you realize things about yourself. I don't think people want to face themselves in the mirror. I think that's what it really boils down to is like being afraid to face yourself. Like, perfect example. I commented on this picture or on this whatchamacallit on the Explore page. I think the T Glizzy thing or whatever, T Grizzy, whatever his name is, when he was talking about he basically lies to women to have sex with them. And I said I commented, I knew I was going to get key for it. But I said in the comments, like, this is predatory. That's what it is. If you're lying to somebody, you telling them that you love them and all this just to have sex with them, that's predatory. And then people were commenting like, okay, Karen, you're doing too much. Shut up, yada, yada, yada. I could get upset. But the truth is, if you believe that, like if you think that's okay, me calling that as predatory means you're predatory and I don't want to be called predatory. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
it's much easier
Yeah.
to deflect and say, oh, that's wrong, that's not happening, than to admit like, oh, you have a point there. If that is the truth, then that means I have to look at myself and examine the ways that I've benefited from
Yeah.
this, even though it's not right. A lot of people don't want to do that. A lot of people, I mean, it's America, we're individualists, we pull ourselves up by the bootstraps, but
Yep.
it wasn't really pulling yourself up by the bootstraps when you kind of had a head start.
Right.
Not so much self-made or any of that.
Yeah. Dude, oh my god! I'm just thinking about random shit. I'm gonna say this last thing, and then we're gonna move into the next point.
Go ahead.
I saw this one. This is, I mean, completely random, Laura. I'm not kidding. This is nothing to do with nothing we was talking about.
It is what it is.
The shit was like, someone said like all lives matter or something like that on a poster. Someone was like, "Was y'all like, why wasn't y'all yelling this shit from 1619 to 1968?" It was like, did all lives matter then? And people was like, "Oh, you quiet now, huh?" Don't know why I just thought about that, but I thought it was funny. But
I think that has a connection.
Yeah, we're gonna just say that for now.
Okay.
I also want to talk about. Did we talk about being a strong friend?
No, we didn't talk about being a strong friend.
Okay. Yeah, let's transition to that.
Okay.
Do you ever feel like you're the strong friend?
Oh, I feel like I'm a strong friend all the time. I feel like I'm strong everything, but I'm not. I'm learning to set boundaries. Okay, so that's another thing with the strong Black woman stereotype is you don't have boundaries. There is no, I'm tired, I can't do that now. It's everybody else's needs before yours, right? Because that's a strong Black woman. You can do anything. You're a superwoman. False. Okay, one. That's a I'm not even going to get to the Office reference, but anyway. So yeah, when you're the strong Black friend, where you're the strong Black woman, you're the strong friend, people come to you because they think that they can dump their emotions or whatever they're going through on you, and you're fine, you can handle it. And if you've always grown up in that position, then to an extent you kind of fall into those roles.
Yeah.
The only thing about that is enough of people dumping into you without you taking time for yourself, it has negative effects on you, on your mental health, all of that. And that's one thing that we were talking about the other day, about people just randomly hitting you up or sending you stuff that was triggering, and not checking on you before doing so. Like, it's one, that's not fair. But I'm not your emotional trash bin. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
people dump into you and then they feel better and now you feel like shit for the rest of the day. That's not very considerate. And I think when you are the strong Black friend, people tend to forget that you're human and tend to forget that they should probably consider what you're going through, what you have going on, before they just dump into you.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I want to ask you one more question before we go into me.
Okay.
How are you when people ask how you're doing? Are you one of those people that's like, I'm a strong friend, I can't show weakness?
I say nobody asked me how I'm doing. No, I'm kidding.
I ask you how you doing.
You do. No. Well, that's the thing is I initially, like, I used to be the, no, I'm fine, I'm good. But now I have made it a point to try to, it's still something that I'm working on, but to try to at least let people know, like, I'm not really in a good space right now, or I just need a little bit of time to myself, or I tell them I'll call them back, or I'm trying to do better about setting boundaries with people. And for me, boundaries looks like telling people, like, I'll call you back, not picking up the phone, but texting and tell them I'll call them later. And just giving myself time. I do better some people do better when they talk to people. I do better when I get quiet, I journal, I cry, I dance, I exercise. I do better when I do stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm learning is, instead of, because I used to just emotionally dump on people, which, that's not very cool, but I would never feel better. And I realized that when I take time to myself and get out whatever emotion it is without judging myself, majority of the time I feel better. Yeah. What about you?
Which part? I be forgetting the questions and shit.
With being the strong friend, and what that, because I know for you it's a little bit different, where people kind of look at you as like and correct me if
cheer
I'm
me up
wrong, but
friend.
they look at you, yeah, as the cheer me up friend.
Yeah,
How has that experience been for you?
dude. It's well now. I man, I tell people straight up. But before, I used to always, and I think I texted you this one girl. She was like, "I'm just having a rough day. Can you please just like make me smile or like please like make it better?" It was some basically like I'm feeling shitty. Help me feel better. And
Mhm.
I was like, what? Because this was that one day when I was just like, dude, I was just messed up. And I don't know, like that's like the darkest place I've like ever been. You know what I'm saying? I was just
Mhm.
like, what's the point in any of all this stuff? And she texted me that shit, and I was like, dude, people. I was like, people don't care about me. Like they just use me for like entertainment. And then I was like, I'm about to delete social media. I was reading books and like watch delete social media. But it just made me think about how when you're like the strong or the happy friend, a lot of times people don't see that other side of you because you feel like you can't show it.
Yeah.
Like, and I was thinking about like my social media and like well, now I've done better about it. Before I
Yeah.
never showed this side of me.
Yeah.
Like for it was always comedy landing. But
Happy
I never,
landing.
yeah, always had to be happy. Like even when I was taking pictures, I would be like, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't even be happy, but I gotta show it I'm happy.
Mhm.
And I think, and this is really talking to people who are like the strong friend or like the funny friend. It's okay not to be that all the time.
Mhm.
But I think we have to do a better job of allowing ourselves, and I keep saying the full spectrum, full range of emotions, because that's human. We
Right.
have to be able to feel those and be okay with feeling those.
Yeah.
And also to our closest friends, not everybody got to see this shit, but
Right.
allowing our closest friends to understand that too. Like,
Mhm.
dude, I know I'm happy landing, but right now I'm sad landing. I don't want to make jokes and TikToks right now.
Right. Right.
And like as a friend, and this thing that got me too. Um, when I had said something to somebody, they were like SMH. What?
I'm sorry.
And
Didn't
so
know.
I don't talk to them no more. But like the fact that you got upset because I said I'm not in the mood because I am feeling down right now.
I'm sorry?
I'm not allowed to be upset, but you are?
Yeah.
What kind of friendship is this? This is a one-way street right here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
okay, I'm getting a little off topic, but those ain't people that you want to have around you.
Yep.
You know what
That's
I'm
the
saying?
truth. Speak on it.
Yeah, but like be around people that allow you to be a human being.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That allow you to show that full range.
Yes.
And needless to say, I don't talk to that person no more again.
Good.
But I forgot where I was going with that. But yeah, just I think we got to do a better job as friends and as the strong friend of allowing ourselves to be a full range human.
Yeah. Yeah, those are really good points. And that's really good too. What you were saying is that once you notice that, all right, this person is clearly self-absorbed. I'm not,
Yeah.
that's huge because a lot of people stay in friendships and relationships like that because they think it's their responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
to regulate this other person's emotions. It's not your responsibility to regulate somebody else's emotions. It's
Right.
not our responsibility. A lot of times we fall into those roles as children and we grow up and become adults that still fall into those roles with people, but no, it's not. It's my responsibility. And as much as y'all, people would rag on Will and Jada, that was a huge point that they made, is that it's not my responsibility to make you happy.
Right.
It's not. I can contribute, but it's not my responsibility. It's your responsibility to make you happy. I'm here to support you,
Yeah.
you know, but I'm not going to do the work for you. I got to do my
Mm-hmm.
own work. Yeah, so that's huge that you recognize that. I think that's also, we might be getting on a tangent, but I think that's also the key to having a fulfilling life
Yeah.
is, what kind of relationships do you have around you? Are you and not just intimate relationships with like significant others, but like friendships. What kind of friendships do you have? Are these people that pour into you and that you can pour into them, or is it just you pouring into other people? Because
Right.
that's going to leave you drained, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's another thing with the strong black friend, is we tend to get around people that take and take and take. Sometimes it's they're not very conscious of it. But it's up to us to be conscious, when the relationship is one-sided.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. You know what else is one-sided, Lauren?
What?
I'm working on my transitions. You know what else is one-sided?
Okay. I was like, what? What else is one-sided, Landon?
Damn, man, you gonna mess the whole thing up. You know what? I'm just gonna say what I was gonna say because it
My
was gonna be
bad.
good. I was gonna say, you know what else is one-sided?
Am I supposed to guess?
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say, yeah, but okay. You know what? I was just gonna say it's one-sided when when people choose to appreciate black features.
Oh, okay. I see what
That
you
was
did there.
it was gonna
That
be it was
was
gonna
good.
it was
That
gonna be
was
it was
good.
gonna be I could have my delivery could have been a little better, but I wanted to talk about our next topic, which is um the features of a black woman and when they're appreciated on someone else besides on everybody else besides a black
Black
woman.
woman. Yeah. Yeah, honestly. Yeah, I mean that I I don't really have any words for it, cuz it's like you see it so much where it's like you have people that are altering their bodies to look like this and being praised for it. And then you have black women who naturally look this way and they're shamed for these things. You know, they're made to feel like um yeah, like they should be ashamed of these things. And it's I'm sure, you know, it's something that we would have to because we don't have enough time. We're only working on 7 minutes here.
We got 7
But
minutes left?
yeah, we've been talking for 53 minutes, bro.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's go. I'm sorry.
um, but yeah, I think it's something that has been ingrained in us since slavery and European standards is what I've heard it referred to. But it's just something where on a black woman it's undesirable because it's on a black woman, but on someone else it's oh yeah, that looks good, or oh that's whatever. But yeah, I think it's more it's a conditioning.
Yeah. Yeah. I literally wrote this one thing down and here we go. Oh my god, I should have worded this better. What's the norm of femininity? Middle class heterosexual white femininity. And those norms are what shape how people view and understand black women
Mm-hmm.
because they're away. You know what I mean? Like this is the norm. Then you got black women here. I'm not gonna put it down.
Like an
Black women here.
outlier.
Yes. And it's like, you're not our norm of what beauty is or how a woman should look, how a woman should act, how
Yep.
like, and I think that I should have said that earlier because that literally affects every single thing.
Yeah.
Like if a black woman, which goes into code switching, if a black woman doesn't act like this social norm of heterosexual white femininity,
Yep.
something's off. She's an
Yep.
angry black woman. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like you have to code switch into that. And I
Yep.
think my bad. I should have said that earlier. I
No,
just
it's
pulled that
fine.
up. But yeah, I think about like the Kardashians too. Like, oh, it blows my mind. It blows my mind. They are making billions with a B. Billions off of capitalizing off of black women.
Mama Chris know how to market.
Man, like
Oh
everybody
my
wants the
gosh.
full lips. They want the hips and the black women features. They want those,
Yep.
but they don't want to acknowledge where they come from.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's so messed up.
It's so crazy to me how influential black women are on culture.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I this is probably a tangent, but was on Twitter and they had posted this picture of it's literally it's not even a real person. It's like a computer animated girl on this Instagram, and she has like buku followers, right? And her images look very, very real. Like you would look at it and think this is an actual real person, but it's just like AI or something. But just like looking at how she dressed and how she talked and how she posed and in all of that, I'm like, this sounds like a black woman.
Mm.
Even though the AI is like a white girl with brown hair. I mean, she's saying stuff like, we love to see it and we stand a queen. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that's black women,
Right.
everything. It's like
TikTok
that's
dances.
black women. Yeah. That's black women. That's black women. And it's like everybody wants everything that black women have to offer except the black woman.
Right. And I think this, I'm probably gonna run out of time soon, but that goes into like the whole dehumanizing of black women.
Yeah.
You can take from a black woman because it's okay. She's not a human. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's why people don't feel guilty. And I think they do feel guilty, but I don't know, man. I think
It's probably, I mean, that's how they justify it.
right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's so, dude, it's so fucked up. It's so fucked up how much black women have done and have not got credit for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I think we got to do a better job as black men, seriously. Like, we really have to do a better job of protecting black women, and not just protecting them, but supporting them and uplifting them, everything. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just hearing how some of my friends talk about like black women, it's always like light skin, woo, 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 woo. Oh man, it's a whole thing, dude. Oh my God. Yeah,
Misogyny.
dude, it's a whole mess.
You got a couple of minutes if you want to dive into it.
I'm kind of jumbled right now. I could just
Okay.
feel my brain, and so
Yeah.
like,
That's fine.
you know, you got
It's
too many
fine.
thoughts, and that's when I start doing shit like, it's like, like, you know what I mean?
I start doing
Sidetrack.
this number where I'm like, I do this weird thing where I say like M. That's
Like,
when like it's not like instead of it's
you
like
for the UK?
M. I catch myself doing it sometimes, like
Hell no. Oh man. You got any last words or anything before we wrap this thing up?
I wanted to ask you about your perspective on like the black features and like if you've ever, if that's ever been something that you've consciously thought about or like you've been drawn to it in other women and not black women.
Absolutely. And
Where
it's
do you
like,
think it came from? Oh, go ahead.
shit, I don't even know, man. It's fucked up to say, but like it is like that's how I've looked at women, the same features that black women have and on other people, and I've been like, oh yeah, like that looks good, but I would, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm trying to think. Like I feel so like shameful for it now. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. Even sometimes I'll be on like dating apps and just thinking about how I would like quickly swipe past a girl. She was like light skin or something, but like I look at a dark skinned girl and I would be like, you know what I mean? Kind of like
Mm-hmm.
hesitant. And
Mm-hmm.
then oh my God, dude, it's so like, why the fuck did I think like that? You know what I
Because
mean?
I mean, you get messages, you get subconscious. I think subconscious is a word. Subliminal is the word. Subliminal messages. You've gotten these subliminal messages throughout your entire life. That's
Mm,
how dangerous these messages are. Is that you don't
yeah,
even realize that
right.
you're getting them. You know.
Yeah,
And so that's why I try to tell people like once you realize certain things, try not to shame yourself for it.
yeah, yeah,
you know Shame is the biggest hindrance to healing and to growth, and it's not anything to be ashamed of, but just to realize like that's how powerful these subliminal messages are on our lives, and to be more cognizant of the messages that you consume once you
yeah,
become aware, because a lot of people, you're not even aware that it's happening, but once you do, be more intentional about the stuff that you consume.
yeah. I think
Yeah,
it's crazy too. Like once you're aware of it, you start to see so much more.
everywhere.
And it starts, I'm like, oh, it be messing with my head because I just see and like even hearing my friends talk, like well, now I don't got a problem calling people out. But like it's just crazy because I'm like, have we always talked like this? You know what I mean? Like we've always been saying shit like this and just been cool with it. I don't mean to sound, I don't mean to say all this stuff to sound like I'm perfect because I'm still working on myself too. You know what I mean? Like
Right,
I
right,
got
right,
times where I'll say shit and I'll catch myself like I shouldn't have said that. But
right,
I mean it's an ongoing process. I don't ever want to sound like I got it figured out.
right, right.
Um,
That's
but I
key.
just think as men, we have to do a better job of calling it out when we hear it.
Yeah,
And creating a new norm of how we look, talk, and understand black women.
yeah,
Because we don't.
yeah.
So yeah.
I'm doing the dad smile.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
No, that's really good. And that's a valid point too, is that you're not gonna get it on the first try. Once you become aware, you're still, I mean, think about it, it took you 25 years
I mean,
to
and counting.
to become conscious of it. So you developed a habit over 25 years. It's gonna take you longer than a couple of days to break. But
Yeah.
the most important thing is that you continue to catch it and to reframe it when you notice it.
Yeah.
That's how we make changes, small steps.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I'm proud of you, man. Small steps turn into quantum leaps.
Hey, there you go.
All right, we're gonna go wrap this thing up, man. Hey, thank y'all so much for tuning in for another episode of Southern Hospitality. We're gonna be back again next Thursday. We're gonna figure out what we're gonna talk about. And Lauren, do you have any last words before we close this thing out?
I thought this was a very good talk. Good talk.
Yeah, that thing was real good. It felt good.
Yeah.
I was sweating a little bit first. Oh, clear that throat.
I'll show you what's going on over here.
Sweat marks on your armpits and stuff.
It's bad. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, once again, I am your co-host, Landon Moss.
I'm Lauren Moss.
And we are out. Oh, you got to stop recording this time.
Oh, okay. Okay, hold on, let me stop it.